principle of God. And then about 700 to 1,000 years before Jesus came Buddha, which actually covered the mind and represented the masculine principle of God. This was the feminine principle, which was the spirit, which Krishna, and then of course Jesus, the Son, us. And the two then, the intercourse between Krishna and Buddha, between the spirit and the mind, produced Jesus, which then is one of us, is one with us. And today, we go back, I mean, literally 7,000 years to the most ancient document, one of the most ancient documents that's ever been in the hands of people, which is the Bhagavad Gita. And the Bhagavad Gita actually is the story of a conflict that was with us a long time ago, but it divides the mind into two sections. And on the left are the warring armies of the sons of the blind king, which is your carnal mind. On the right, the sons of Pandu, represented by Arjuna in this particular case, and you'll see his name come up. And so when Arjuna is ready to fight against the sons of the blind king, when the right hemisphere is ready to fight against the left hemisphere, when that which is spirit is ready to take its course against the carnal mind, he's confused as to what to do, and he calls Krishna. And Krishna comes between the warring parties right here in a chariot pulled by a white horse, and he starts to convey to Arjuna the various aspects of what truth is. And that's where we're at. And you're on page 72 of the Bhagavad Gita. You can see that. And we're starting in number 2. Let's read it from the Bhagavad Gita of Krishna. The sinner, the ignorant, the vile, deprived of spiritual perception by the glamour of illusion, and he who pursues a godless life, none of them shall find me. Now that's the key to this. The key to the Bhagavad Gita, the key to the Bible, the key to Buddha is one word. It's a 2-letter word. Me. There's also a word or 2 words in the Bible which convey the same picture. I am. And so the whole search of life then is to find me. You have to say that. You know, say, oh, find Bill, to find me. You look at yourself and say, I've got to find me. That's what, as we go into this, you'll see it, but this is what Buddha tried to convey, this is what Krishna tried to convey. The mind, Buddha said, you must find me, yourself. The spirit, Krishna, said, you must find me, yourself. And then Jesus Christ said, nobody can come to the Father but by me, yourself. That's the key. That's the thing that everybody's missed. Instead of identifying with an individual, all of these voices of God tried to identify with that which was the inner self. So what it says here is the sinner. Now, who's the sinner? It says the sinner cannot find me. Why is the sinner unable to find me? Because the word sin, and now you're back 7,000 years, you're back to the time when sin was worshipped. Because sin is the moon god of Ur of the Chaldees. That's what the word sin is. Sin is not drinking, smoking, sex, cursing, any of the things that people have attributed to it. Sin is the moon god. And the moon in mysticism means the emotions because it reflects whatever light is shown on it. And so what's said here are those who dwell in the emotions will never find me, which is the center. Okay? So that's what a sinner is. A sinner is simply one who dwells in the emotions. It is not one who does anything. And because basically what churches and religions do is they find the things that most people like and make that sin so they can try to, you know, say, don't do that anymore. You know, I mean, you know, 30 people show up at church and 35,000 show up at Bally's Grand. Well, that's sin. They want to get all those people to come and eat ziti under a dish or something like that. Okay. So the sinner, or the one who dwells in the emotions, is not able to find me because me is only found through meditation. All right? Now, and let me just break for a minute and tell you about Dave Preston. I was talking with Dave this morning, and Dave is going through a real siege through the cancer which has raised its ugly head. But he started for the first time taking medicine, and Albert got through to him, and he said he felt great this morning. He was ready to come to church, got in the shower and got all dressed, and then his back started hurting him, and it went down his legs. And so he's not being able to hear, but his spirits were very, very good, so we have to keep deeply into meditation about him, and we got to get him through this, and he has to also get himself through it, but I just feel strong that he will. Okay, now who else cannot find me? The ignorant. The ignorant, simply one who does not understand the teachings, will never find me. And when you try to understand what we're talking about, there is a part within you, okay? Everything in biblical precepts, everything through Buddha and Krishna has a symbolic label on it, meaning there's a name given to identify a part of your brain. There are no people inside of your head. At least I don't think there are. If there are, then we got big trouble. But I mean, let's take what is fairly common sense. There are no people inside of your head, but there are inside of you electrical impulses. These electrical impulses have names attributed to them. That name, me, is the center. It's the soul. It's the life part of you. It's attached to the pineal gland. It's motivated by the electrons and the neurons and all of these things which activate the right hemisphere. So in order to find that, you've got to go through a meditative process. You can't do it any other way. You can't sing it. You can't believe it. You can't go to listen to somebody talk. You can't use stones. You can't use smoke. You can't use anything. You can only meditate because you got to get out of the emotions. You got to get out of sin. You got to get out of the moon, and you got to go up into the place of the sun within you, which is the pineal gland, and there you'll find me. And that's what we're after. Now, who is the vile? The vile simply means those who are determined not to find it. See? And there's an interesting thing. It says, the sinner, the ignorant, the vile, deprived of spiritual perception by the glamour of illusion. Deprived of spiritual perception by the glamour of illusion. What's the first thing you do? You see somebody standing up on an altar adorned with all kinds of stuff and all kinds of robes and all kinds of hats and all of these things, or he's got a collar on and he walks out, or he's got a big sign behind him saying he's the evangelist, and absolutely we fall at the feet of these people because we are totally confused by the illusion in front of us. We think, this is what's holy. According to the Bible, no, that's what's holy. You're the one that's holy. I've told you this 100 times. You could take the most holy people you could think of. You could take Mother Teresa. You could take Pope Paul. You could take Billy Graham. You could take the most holy people you could think of, put them in a room with a dog, and the only one in there that is pure is the dog. Because the dog does not have a carnal mind. All the dog has is me. It doesn't know about the devious things that human beings work through, and all people do. So when your house, you know, and I always respect that. When I say I get 2 dogs and a cat and Joan, and I realize that... Is her face red? Yes. Am I in trouble? But you see what I'm saying to you is that perfection, that point of not diabolically trying to think, or, you know, you've all had experiences with animals where you'll smack your dog around when you lose your temper, and who's the first one that's laying at your feet that wants to make up and wants to be friends and wants to love? Why? Because it dwells in that which is the me. It dwells in that which is the center. There's another thing.
Tell him how Daisy wouldn't come in the house yesterday because she's so...
Oh, yeah, well, Daisy. Let's go on because we're running a bit late. The second thing... The second thing that is an illusion that you get involved in religion are the things you... Baptism is an illusion. Okay? Laying hands on is an illusion. All of these types of things that we think are so extremely important, we concentrate on these things. Oh, I have to do this or I have to do that, and they don't mean anything because they're symbols. We don't understand the true in-depth meaning of them, so they become important to us. And so that's what he's saying here. The glamour of illusion. And one who pursues a godless life. I mean, you don't understand it. The only place you can find that which is God is within yourself, in meditation. Don't use the word if you want, then go and find it. Just use common sense. Use common sense. I mean, just make common sense. How could there conceivably be a God living on a planet somewhere with binoculars just waiting for you to destroy each other, then getting ready to send his only son on a white horse to drop atomic bombs and kill? I mean, just use common sense and say, what in the world is the truth? What is the reality of this? And then you find the reality of it is, as these have been trying to teach you, that this thing that you call God is located in a secret place within you. And it's simply that which deprives you of your own ego, if you let that, to go up and become one with that which is the universal expression of nature, that which is of God. Getting rid of all of the illusion of religions, of governments, and coming to grips with the inner you. However you choose to do it, wherever you choose to do it, that's not important. The point is that you do it, that you find this inner place, and you lift yourself into it and become one with the only thing that could possibly make any sense, that hidden nirvana, that kingdom of God, as Jesus said, that special you, okay? Take a look at page 789, and you'll see about illusion. You talk about illusion. If you look at Matthew chapter 13, page 789, what does Jesus say? Matthew chapter 13 and verse 13. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. What you see is an illusion. You know, you think it's the truth, don't you? You struggle with every religious precept that you could come up with. And here Jesus is saying, these people, they can't hear, because no matter what you tell them, they'll twist it, they'll turn it, they'll change it, they'll make something out of it. So I speak to them deeply in parables, which can only be interpreted through the Spirit. It forces you into meditation to find what the truth is. Because what happens is all of the religious precepts that you ever studied in your life are like a mirage on the desert. There it is. Oh, I'm going to have my healing, or I'm going to have this, I'm going to have a prayer is going to deliver me, I'm going to say these magic words. And then as you get closer to it, it's not there. Where is it? It's gone. It's not there. It doesn't exist. And so that's what he's talking about. And of course in 72, page 72, number 2, it says, he who pursues a godless life. Me is the I am. Look, it's the center. This is simply a coded word. It's a code. It's a coded word for an aspect in the center of your brain that if you touch that, it'll activate that which is called God inside of you. And if you come here with me now to page 880, and we'll go to John, the book of John, and let me show you something. John chapter 14. Remember this Jesus talking in parables. John chapter 14, and what does it say? John chapter 14 and verse 6. And as you're reading it, look with me and you'll be able to break the code as Jesus teaches, okay? I am. Look up here. Who? Watch. I am the way, the truth, the life. Is who? Who is it? Me. I am. No one cometh unto the Father but by me. Now the first thing that you're going to do when you run into a person who's steeped in the mainline religion, say, Jesus is saying you can't get to the Father but by Jesus. Jesus never said that. He says, I am. I am is the truth. I am is the way. I am is the life. And no one can get to the Father, which is the higher mind. It is the brain. No one can get there but by me. You can't get it by religion. You can't get it by preachers. You can't get it by doctrines. You can't get it by traditions. You can only get there by me. And the name Father means the brain. The name Father means that which is the higher mind. The God part of the brain is Father. And no one comes to the Father or to that secret part of the brain but by me, which you could say is the pineal gland of the brain and the aspects by which you're able to go through and open up the right side. Now, how do I know that? How do I know that when Jesus Christ said, I am, no one comes to the Father but by me, that he's not saying that, hey, I am, look at me, here I am. No one comes but by me. If you're going to get in, you're going to... How do I know he's not saying that? Come with me. You're on page 880. Go back to page 869 to John chapter 5. And watch Jesus. Watch Jesus. John chapter 5. He just told you something. You broke the code. He told you that you have within yourself the I am. You have within yourself the me. These two electrical components, if you touch them and will activate them, they'll bring you into that which is God consciousness. And I'm about to prove to you that Jesus was not saying he is. Look at John chapter 5. Go to verse 30. I can of mine own self do nothing. Nothing! He didn't say he could raise people from the dead. He didn't say he could heal blind people. He didn't say he could do this or do that or do that. He said, I can't do anything. So he puts us right smack in the same position that we are. Why? Because he's identifying the self. And you know what's the hardest thing in the world? To get people who are into religion and into Christianity to read that. That is blacked out. They have black marking, and they black that out because that's something he was. He is saying, I am the way. No one comes to the Father but by me. But of my own self, I can't do anything. It is the Father who does the work. The Father is the higher mind, and no one gets to the Father but by me, which is the same thing that Krishna said. Look at Krishna on page on 72 that you have. Look at number 1. This divine illusion of phenomena manifesting itself in the qualities is difficult to surmount. Only they who devote themselves to me and to me alone can accomplish it. Don't you see? Not to Krishna, to me. You've got to say, I must devote myself to me. Not your lower self, because your lower self has to say with Jesus, I can't do anything. But the higher self, that which is the name given to the divine, the I am, the me. Okay? All right. Now, let's go to 72:3 of Krishna. And here's where he speaks to Arjuna. This goes way back to the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. Now remember, you're looking at something that's about 7,000 years old. Oh, Arjuna, the righteous who worship me are grouped by stages. First, they who suffer. Next, they who desire knowledge. They who thirst after truth. And lastly, those who attain wisdom. The righteous who worship me are those who finally turn within to the right side. And who are the first? Look what he says. 7,000 years ago, have anything changed? The first ones that come are those who suffer. When you hit the wall, you're willing to try anything. When you hit the wall, when you're in the curb, when it's all over, you know, when your next step up is the gutter, you'll try anything. And he's saying that's what forces people finally to give up religion and to give up all the doctrines and all the rules and all the regulations is suffering. Nothing else works. Believe me, you know, people come in here and they'll be in here in meditation when they're suffering. Whether they're limping in or crawling in or got all kinds of bad news, they're here. As soon as it lifts, hey, have you seen so-and-so? See so-and-so, and say, how you doing? I'm doing great. See, good times drive you away. Suffering drives you away. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? You know, maybe I'll try anything, you know. It's like we said last week, I went to the funeral parlor and telling people, if you listen very carefully after you've lost a loved one who has died, in that house, the astral body will make its presence felt for about 3 months. You'll have communicate. These same people who will say this is occult madness and stay away from this, they'll all, oh, yeah, I believe that. I think so. I think I felt. They're all open to, as soon as you're into a suffering, you're open to this stuff. Because you come to the realization that nothing else works. It doesn't work. What am I wearing glasses for? Something is happening. And it's not going up, it's going down. You know what I'm saying to you? The hair, it's, you know, I have a wave. But it's waving goodbye is what is happening. Where is it going? Huh? And all of these things, you realize that there's something that you can't turn the clock back on. There's something you can do nothing about. And so then you start releasing your hold on the physical, and you take hold of me. Take hold of the I am, which is eternal. See? But that's what brings people to the inner truth. And that's what Krishna just says. Grouped by stages, the first ones who hit... And this is 7,000 years ago. Can you imagine somebody coming in, oh, Harry, am I screwed up? That was his name, you know, Harry. So, Harry, what am I going to do? I said, well, you're all screwed up. Why? You're suffering. 7,000 years ago, the first people that showed up at the service, the first people who really came to the realization they needed something inside were those who suffer. Next are those, it says in 72:3, who desire knowledge. They begin to seek after the truth. I mean, how long can all of us just sit on this? You know, take a look sometimes when you see these spaceship pictures. You're on this tennis ball. The tennis ball is flying through the universe at 40,000 miles an hour, and there's nobody driving it. And you're looking for security. Everybody's looking for security. You're like a flea on a tennis ball, flying through with all of these asteroids and everything. We're going all off in different directions. Say, I want security for me and my family. Give me it. Where are we going? And so then you say, what am I doing here? What the heck are you doing here? Look, let's do our thing, our ritual that we do. So that it refreshes us, okay? Here, what is this for? What is this for? It's hear the music. Did you see that? It was a speaker. You can hear it. It's a this is a decoration, isn't it? Here, this board is to write things on. This here holds the paper. Look, the rug's on here. Look, you can go ding-dong with that. Here, you got lights. The poles hold up the ceiling. The tiles there make it nice. You got lights here. You got little screws in here. Do you see the screws in a chair? The little screws hold the chairs together. Now, I want you to do the ultimate test. Take a look at the one sitting next to you. For what? And you know what most of you do? You won't do it. You'll stare straight ahead. But just glance, just move your eye. Take a look at that what's sitting next to you. What the heck for? What is that for? See, nobody knows what is that for. But now you come down here. Why are you here? You're here because you're trying to develop knowledge. What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of your being here? What is the purpose of all of these things that happen with the animals and nature telling you things? What's the purpose of it all? And so then you come. So the first ones that come are those who are in trouble. The second ones that come are those who desire knowledge. And this is what Krishna said 7,000 years ago. The next who come are those who thirst after the truth. Say, there's more to life. You know the first thing that people will say, the people that will be on, they'll come on, when they hear on television or whatever, they'll say, you know, I always felt this way. But there was never anybody to talk to. But I always felt this way. Because you know in your heart what is the truth. You know in your heart that the fulfillment of this thing that you call God can only be one place, in the center of your own being. It can't be up on a planet somewhere, because there are no planets up there. It can't be in the air. It's got to be deep within yourself. There has to be the fulfillment and the understanding of this. And you know it's true. You know it's true. You know that nobody could put a price tag on this stuff. You know that there's no way that there's any God anywhere who's going to throw people in hell. I mean, here it is in the Bible where this God says, you got to forgive your enemies, and he fries his. Great guy to follow, you know. Hey, that's it, you know, Sarah, that's it for you. Into the pit. And he's got a bunch of, and this is what I was raised with. This was the kind of civilization I was raised with. I was going there, and I'll tell you why I was going there. Because I ate a hot dog on a Friday. And there was no way out of this. He has really got a short fuse. Jesus says you got to forgive everybody 7 times 70. Not this guy. A hot dog. Boom, into the pit. And there's demons and guys in red suits and sticking you and all of this stuff. For what? For a hot dog. But this was my raising. This was my Judeo-Christian culture I was raised with. I was raised to learn to love God by scaring the hell into me. Scared to death of devils and demons and going to hell and all of this. I used to line up. I was going to tell the religious person the sins I did. You know, you had to line up in a line. And I would say to the kid next to me, what are you going to say? I don't know. What should I I was making up guilt. You know what I'm telling you? I had to make up guilt. I didn't know. I wasn't guilty. I'll make up some guilt. What are you going to say? Say you said 3 bad words. Okay. I didn't say 3 bad words. I didn't even know who were the bad words. But I said 3 bad words. Oh. I said 4. But I'm making up all of this stuff. I'm making myself guilty. And then I got to school, and then I got in all of these things, and people were heaping it up. More guilt. You did this wrong. You didn't do this right. And it piled up and piled up and piled up. So I was guilty. So you come and you search for truth. What's this all about? And finally, he says in 72:3, they who attain wisdom. Exploring the ancient symbols. What is wisdom? What's the name of the program we have on television? Hidden Meanings, right? What are the things that you come here? You come here to find out what these symbols mean. So you come here to get beyond the words into the understanding of what was said to you by Krishna and Buddha and Jesus and all the rest. Go to page 541. Proverbs. The book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs. Go to page 500 and, 41, and go to the book of Proverbs, Proverbs chapter 1. Okay? Look at verse 2. It says, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding. And look what it says in verse 6. To understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings, hidden meanings, allegory, parable, numerology, proverb, understanding these things, okay? And then in 72:4 of Krishna, he says, of all of these, he who has gained wisdom, he who meditates on me without ceasing, devoting himself only to me, okay? He is the best, for by the wise man I am exceedingly beloved. Who is exceedingly beloved? Who? Come on, read it. You got it right. I am exceedingly beloved. And the wise man, too, is beloved by me. Of all these. See, it's so important for you to try to understand what you're doing. If you come in here at a meditation and there's sounds coming out of here and there, and you don't have any idea what you're doing, it's just not there. You may get, you feel, I got relaxed, but I get bored. You'll get bored. You'll get bored, you'll fall asleep, something like that, because you don't understand what you're doing. But when you come and you understand the words, you understand the teachings, you understand the purpose of all of this thing, you are into this to allow yourself to be filled and to have that right hemisphere start to energize, to have the mind of Christ. That's the purpose of it. It's not to relax. It's not to transcend anything. It's to get into the mind of Christ. And look on page 881. Page 881, John chapter 15. And see what Jesus says, okay? And that's why it is so important that I ask you, not just meditation, and that is the most important thing that happens here, but to understanding the teachings, understanding the Word, so that you can get through what's happening to you when you meditate. What is that shaking, that electricity that you feel? What's going on? John chapter 15 and verse 3, okay? And Jesus Christ said, what the heck have I got here? Oh, verse 3. I'm at the right place. I just want to make sure you were. I wasn't, I was just seeing if you were paying attention. Were you paying attention? So most of you say, what else do you have here? I don't see anything. John chapter 15, verse 3. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. In other words, you understand what the heck I'm talking about. You understand why it's important to sit on the floor. You understand why it's important to say Om. You understand why it's important to have these sounds drive the thoughts out, because you are heading for something. You're heading for I am. You're heading for me. That special, holy, private place within you that'll light up the universe for you and make you ready then at this coming of this new age of Aquarius, okay? Now, why is it so important then? Watch. You're on John chapter 15. Go back to page 880, one page back. This is why it's so important. John chapter 14, verse 9. Jesus says, I've been with you so long, you haven't known me. And now look at the next after the word Philip. He that has seen me has seen the Father. And how can you say then, show us the Father? How can any of you say, show me God, show me the Father, because he that has seen me has seen the Father. And me is the holy essence within you. Me is the holy essence within you that lights up the universe, that will make clear to you these things. You'll be able to pick up a book by Krishna. You can pick up a book by Buddha. You can pick up a book by Campbell or Carl Jung. You can pick up a book by Jesus Christ, the Bible. Open it up and understand the words of the wise and their dark sayings. Then you've arrived. He who has seen me has seen the Father. And you say, well, I still don't know. Maybe he's talking of himself. Go to, you're on page 869. Again, let me show you this. Page 869, John chapter 5. Here you have people again say, oh, let me witness to you about Jesus. I want to witness to you about Jesus Christ. Can I witness to you about Jesus? Who can witness about? Who's going to stand up and witness about Jesus? Look what Jesus says, John chapter 5, verse 31. If I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. Who read it? Who had the guts to stand up and go into the church or the first church or whatever it is and say, wait a minute. It can't be true. He can't take a witness from a human being. Nobody can look at you and say, you're doing this wrong, or you're doing that wrong, or you should be doing this, or you should be doing, because nobody knows you but the Spirit who dwells within you. And then if you have the courage to say, I will follow the light within me, and I don't care what they say, I don't care what he says or she says or they say, I don't care what the system says, I don't care what the traditions say, I know what is being spoken to me from within by that who is the me, the I am, that which is the very essence of God living, dwelling inside, and I will follow that light. Because you got to be like the goose. And when the goose is told to fly, it flies. It doesn't turn around and go to the pasture to check it out. It doesn't turn around to go to somebody and say, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? It spreads its wings and it flies. And it flies out of the cold of Canada. And all the other gooses say, wait a minute, I'm hearing something too. And the one goose that says, maybe we should form a committee. The other goose says, bark, bark. Off they go, flying off. And they all head up and they get in formation. And before you know it, out of the cold tundras of Canada, they start to hear, la cucaracha, ba, 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 ba. They're in Acapulco. How did they get there? Because they followed the inner light and they flew. That's what you got to do. You got to follow the inner light and fly. And as you know what they do when they fly over your house? Did you ever look on your car? That's their comment. And that's what your comment's got to be to all of those who try to put you in guilt, to all of those who try to put you with rules and regulations. You got to spread your wings, fly, and circle over their house. Jeez. Let's move this along. So wisdom brings forth understanding the secret ways of God. Now there's something interesting here. 72:5, Krishna says, noble-minded are they all, but the wise man I hold as my own self. For he, remaining always at peace with me, makes me his final goal. 7,000 years ago, Hare Krishna told you, what is your final goal? Me. And 5,000 years after that, Jesus Christ came along and said, the kingdom of God is within you. Seek it first. Huh? The higher self, the wisdom of God. For he remaining always at peace with me, that means peace with the inner self, peace with that higher divine realm within, that means meditation, shutting down those terrible thoughts that get you crazy. Now I want to show you something. Come with me to Exodus, page 48, Exodus chapter 3. Exodus chapter 3, page 48. It's important, okay? Exodus chapter 3, and in verse 13, Moses says, I come into the children of Israel, and I say, the God of your fathers sent to me, and they shall say to me, what's his name? And what shall I say? What am I going to say when they ask me, what's this guy's name? It's verse 14, and God said unto Moses, I am that I am. I am is my name. My name is I am. Now go to Krishna 72:6. After many lives, it's in your hand. After many lives, at last the wise man realizes me as I am. You got it? You got it? Do you see what I'm saying? After many lives, the wise man finally realizes, point to yourself, me as I am. Wow. Do you see how long does it take to live and come back and live and understand and be lifted up and experience in spirit until finally you're ready to drop all of the conditions, all of the traditions, all of the religion, all of that which says it's over here, it's out there, until finally Krishna says, finally you break through and you realize that the I am being spoken of is nothing else but me. I am the I am. We finally recognize. In verse 72:6, Krishna says, a man so enlightened that he sees God everywhere is very difficult to find. Oh, according to religion, he's up on the moon or up in the sky or up in the planets. Somewhere apart, left us all here to shoot at one another with guns and bombs. But Krishna says, no, he's everywhere. Don't you see a little caterpillar crawling across the ground, and can't you relate to it and say, that has been me. I've never been able to come 1 inch higher. And then all of a sudden, you see the caterpillar sleeping in the cocoon of meditation, and then after he comes out of that dark place, he's wearing a coat of many colors, and he flies among the flowers. Don't you see God in everything? Huh? We talk about the goose. When we had Gigi, when Gigi gave birth to her 9 pups, and when those 9 pups came out and I saw this dog give birth, and I said, who told her how to do it? I saw God in everything. And this is what you have to do to see God. I want to show you something as we just get ready, which I got to wrap up on. I want to show you something. I'm not going to have too much time to go any further with this. The next is a 7,000-year-old description. A 7,000-year-old description of denominational religion. Read it with me, would you? 72:7. Okay? They in whom wisdom is obscured by one desire or the other worship the lesser powers, practicing many rites which vary according to their temperaments. 7,000 years ago. And it depends. If you like to jump around, that's good. If you like to sit this way, that's good. If you want to get into something spooky, it depends on just where you're coming from. It doesn't make any difference. Whatever it is. According to the Bible, it says they have itching ears, and it doesn't mean there's anything. I want to show you an eye-opener that Christian. And now watch this one, because we have to be. Remember what I told you? People see the Virgin Mary. You know, she's showing up all over the place. He said, oh, you know, this is great. Do you know that the bishop there of Trenton or whatever has told people, don't go to that place anymore. Don't go to that place anymore because, you know, it's creating confusion or whatever. But you know what he's missing? He's missing something very important. And what he's missing is, it's not a real woman hanging out in bushes. It is a spirit of the New Age that is filling these people. And they're feeling that feminine principle pouring all over them. And there is no other way for a Catholic person to act out this movement of the feminine principle of God, but by the Virgin Mary. So when they are seeing this, they are seeing it through the single eye. They are seeing it through the spirit. They are seeing it through the heart. And yes, they're seeing it. And yes, nobody else who goes there will ever see anything, because unless they are tuned into that which is the inner spirit, you can't see it. But if you're tuned in, you'll see her, because she is Shekinah. by any other name you call her. You can call Jesus Krishna, Buddha, you can call him Zeus or Adonis, call him any name you want. It's still the same thing. And you can call her Mary, you can call her Isis, you can call her Devaki, you can call her Diana, you can call her anything you want, but it's still the same feminine principle of God. And that's what they're saying. And sure, she's not going to show up in somebody's backyard. She's not going to show up in some church. She's not going to show up in some temple. She's not going to show up in the Meadowlands. She shows up where her son shows up, in the temple made without human hands, right in here. That's where she shows up. Sure, you can see Mary. Sure, you can see Jesus. Sure, you can see Krishna and Buddha. Sure, you can see the glory of God in the temple made without human hands, right there. That's where it's seen. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as Shakespeare said. And so Krishna says, when we start to think sometimes about, well, they can't find it, Buddha says, hey, wait a minute. Verse 8, Krishna says, whatever the form of worship. Now listen to this very carefully, because this is what takes care of all religious denominations and eliminates them. Whatever the form of worship, if the devotee have faith, then upon his faith in that worship do I set my own seal. Doesn't make any difference. See? It doesn't make any difference. So you can't say this is right or that is right. And Krishna goes on to say, if he worships one form alone with real faith, then shall his desires be fulfilled through that only, for thus have I ordained. That's an interesting thing. If he worships, so we eliminate a true religion, because they say, well, don't you see what he's saying? It doesn't make any difference what religion it is. It makes any difference what the condition of the temple is. It makes a difference what the condition of the inner spirit is, what the condition of the inner mind is. That's where the truth comes from. That's where the spirit makes its way. It has nothing to do with religion. Truth and light will flow through regardless of the name of the deity. But there's something that he fulfills, and this is what he says. The fruit, verse 10, Krishna, the fruit that comes to men of limited insight is after all finite. Okay? That means it's limited. Okay? They who worship the lower powers attain them, but those who worship me come to me alone. You can't come with the whole group. You can't come with the denomination. You can't come with your friends. You want to, oh sure, you want to feel good? You want to maybe get a healing? You want to have maybe tonight's problem solved? A religious experience will do it. But when you come to me, you come to me alone. There's a difference. There's an eternal difference. Your mind will function in any kind of a religious setting. Your mind will function at a rock concert. But when you come to me, as he says, you come to me alone, and all things become alone. And then verse at 72:11, Krishna, and this is something you want to write down, because look what they were doing 7,000 years ago. The ignorant think of me, who am the unmanifested spirit, that identifies me, as if I were really in human form. How many times have you thought our Heavenly Father and thought of some guy sitting up in the living room somewhere in heaven? They do not understand that my supreme nature is changeless and most excellent. Numbers 23:19 says, God is not a man that he should live, or lie, or the son of man that he should repent. And in verse 72:12 of Krishna, I am not visible to all. Notice to all. For I am enveloped by the illusion of phenomena. This deluded world does not know me as the unborn and the imperishable. I know, O Arjuna, all things in the past, the present, and the future. But they do not know me. Hare Krishna. So the next time that you walk through an airport and somebody's standing there with a flower, have a little more respect, because you'll have a little understanding of what he talked about. Yes? No, you have to come. Nobody can hear exactly anything you're saying.
Then you come to the words of Jesus about the yada. You never knew me.
That's right. You never knew me, which is that deep intercourse, that spiritual intercourse, okay? All right. Hare Krishna. the Bhagavad Gita. And you know what you can do? You really want to have an interesting thing with your Bible? Go down to Waltman's or B. Dalton Books or someplace, some bookstore, and go in and pick up a Bhagavad Gita, written in very good English. In fact, this translation was written by a Swami who did a study in Oxford University, in Oxford, England. And you can compare it with the ancients, and it's right on the mark. But go down, you can get little paperback editions of the Bhagavad Gita. And you see wisdom, and then line it up with Jesus Christ. And you'll see that Jesus Christ and Hare Krishna, Jesus Christ and Shakyamuni Buddha, like that. Not a problem at all. So I suggest that you do that. Thank you very much. And when you're done with the tape, send it to the next person as quickly as you can. And then, if you would, Joan will come on and tell you about the help that we need. I don't know when you're going to get this tape, or I don't know, but I want to thank you for just, the response has been absolutely